Hello everyone, Zeddy here again with the second video on our YouTube channel. I want to thank everyone who subbed, liked, and watched yesterday. It was an awesome turnout, and I'm glad to see that we're starting to build some momentum. So, we started off with Hall of Fame predictions in our first video, what I'd like to see happen, what I think will happen. Now, I'm going to answer one of the most commonly asked questions I get on my stream at twitch.tv/Zeddy, by the way, if you do not follow me there, where I stream every single day, both standard and wild, #sellout. Anyways, let's take a look at what nerfs would I, Zeddy, do to wild to make it a more balanced format. Although I don't think any of these nerfs will actually occur, nor do I really expect it. Blizzard doesn't really have an active nerfing approach to WoW right now. They kind of only nerf things in WoW if there's a huge outcry for it. Like if something is completely warping and breaking the meta, like Naga Sea Witch or AK-47 Druid, or more recently with Snip Snap Warlock, where they nerfed the echo effect of cards. So what exactly would we do? Well, first we need to understand what exactly is happening in the wild meta. If we take a look at the most recent Tempo Storm snapshot, we can get a good idea that Mage and Warlock are extremely dominant in wild, and have been for quite some time. You have Secret Mage, you have Reno Quest Mage, you have regular Quest Mage, you have Darkest Hour Warlock, Cube Warlock, you can even have Reno Warlock. There's several different types. Mecha'thun Warlock, if I didn't say that already. Several different Warlock decks and Mage decks. You also have a little bit of Shaman and Paladin sprinkled in. But Mage and Warlock are definitely the biggest offenders. So let's start with what we would do with Mage and Warlock. So starting with Warlock, probably the biggest offender in WoW that has been around, well, basically since Kobolds became a thing and Voidcaller, or Voidlord became a thing, is Voidcaller. 4 mana, 3/4 demon, Deathrattle, summon a random demon from your hand. I honestly think the change to this is quite simple. You keep the mana cost, you keep the stat line, you relatively keep the effect, but instead of summoning a demon from your hand, it's summon a random demon from your hand that costs 5 or less. We've seen this recruit mechanic somewhat before. I believe we had that 7 mana 3/3 that recruited an 8-drop from your deck. You can just simply change the mana cost. So you can still do demon cheaty things. You can still do your Doomguard stuff. You can get a Despicable Dreadlord. But you can't cheat out absurd minions that should not be coming out on turn 9, such as Mal'Ganis and Voidlord. I just think that we've seen Voidcaller into Voidlord for way too long. And it's just such an unbelievably power move that just immediately wins the game against so many decks. And would just open up avenues for other type of maybe control decks if Warlock just didn't have that insane cheat. Warlock can still do crazy stuff and would still be able to compete, but we could get away from relying on cheating on Voidcaller and the Voidlord. It would definitely freshen things up and make things a little less warping towards Warlock. Wouldn't end there, though, with this type of archetype. Skull of the Minari is another card that, again, you pretty much immediately win unless your opponent kills you right before it becomes active. I wouldn't change too much about the card. Currently, it's 5 mana. It summons a random demon from your hand. I would just up it to 6. I would just make it a little bit slower. It's more, if you look at like Warrior with Woe Cleaver, which is an 8 mana weapon that cheats out 1 minion a swing, it's 8 mana. Yes, it's proactive, 3 attack. Don't get me wrong, that is insanely powerful, and you can kill someone. Lol. But I just think slowing it down by a mana cost would make a big difference, and again, would make it a little more fair, a little more in line with the legendary weapons. I think these two nerfs would really help deal with the whole demon cheat decks, which they're, it's only 2 nerfs, but they're huge and would definitely shake things up. There is one more nerf though for Warlock, and this is probably the one that I would actually like. The other prior to, I don't think will happen. I don't think they're gonna do it. But Bloodbloom is a card that I think should actually be really looked at by Blizzard. It enables just completely broken things that just should not happen. First and foremost is Darkest Hour Warlock. You play Reform Scheme or Summoning Imps. You play Bloodbloom for 2 mana. You play Darkest Hour, and you cheat out about 40 to 50 mana worth of minions, immediately win the game. This is a somewhat high roll combo, but it's consistent enough that it's a tier 1 deck, at least according to the Chinese meta snapshot that we have seen online. And it is just absurd. It's not fun to lose to. It is a completely degenerate high roll combo, which is in line with Wild, but it's very reminiscent of Naga Sea Witch, Aligner, that style, where it's just way too powerful. And Bloodbloom really enables this. And also Bloodbloom enables Mecha'thun Warlock, which, if you nerf Void Caller and Skull and Monaria, are completely untouched. You don't even run the Demon package in those decks. You just run Hard Cycle and abuse Plague of Flames. And Bloodbloom, again, lets you play Mecha'thun. You have one Emperor discount Bloodbloom Cataclysm. Well, you kill your opponent without ever doing a single point of damage. And I don't think that's a great way for Hearthstone to go. And this deck is very, very top tier if the Quest Mages and the greedy Demon build, Darkest Hour builds go away. And I don't think we want to live in a meta where it's just Bloodbloom Mecha'thun as well. So what would my change to Bloodbloom be? I would up it to 3 or maybe 4 mana. Make it so you can't combo as easily with Mecha'thun, and make it so Darkest Hour is slowed down to the point where it's just not a realistic combo where you're going to die. It's just, I think it's a very, very toxic card that is kind of overlooked when they created cards like Darkest Hour, because they're standard cards. When they're making cards, they don't really think about Wild when they design them, and I just think this card is very problematic and would definitely warrant a good nerf for 1 to 2 mana. So those are the Warlock cards that would nerf. What about Mage? Well, Mage, basically the only 2 really offensive decks are Quest Mages and Secret Mage. Quest Mage is Reno and regular Quest. Reno more relies on abusing Zephyrus, Reno the Rectologist. Some people are on Dragon Queen, and you just, you play your Highlander cards, and eventually you complete your quest, and you play Bargoth, Time Warp, and then you get 3 turns. And you're probably going to kill your opponent with them. Whereas regular Quest Mage is more about hyper-cycling, killing people, stabilizing with Flamewaker, and then, again, same combo, Vargoth, Time Warp, and then multiple Giants. So how do you nerf this? Well, with regular Quest Mage, I think it's quite simple. You take Sorcerer's Apprentice, and you give it the Echo treatment. It's still a 2 mana 3/2. It still makes your spells cost 1 less. They just can't cost 0. The big problem with regular Quest Mage is their ability to play Sorcerer's Apprentice, play all these 0 mana spells like Ray of Frost, Mirror Image, Arcane Missiles, Glyph spells, all these cards, and then Evocation and play Mana Cyclone, get a million free spells, and then play those spells for free. You can do this effectively on turn 2. You can play turn 2, Quest, cheap spells, Evocation, Cyclone. I have completed Quest somewhat consistently on turns 2, 3, and 4. This shouldn't be a thing. It's not really the spirit of the quest. So to make Sorcerer's Apprentice not make spells cost less than 1 would be a big deal and would completely slow down the regular Quest Mage. It would not really affect the Reno Quest Mage, but we'll get to that. Also, in line with that, I think Ray of Frost at 2 mana, if you're going to leave Sorcerer's Apprentice alone, Ray of Frost at 1 mana, if you're going to leave Sorcerer's Apprentice alone, is much too strong. Because a 0 mana Ray of Frost is what basically carries the deck. It's such a powerful card, you can neutralize your opponent's minions, damage them, kill them, and generate free spells. I would make Ray of Frost 2 mana. It is rather expensive when you compare it to Snap Freeze, but it's a twin spell, and twin spells typically are overcosted because you're getting the redundancy effect, which is very powerful. So Ray of Frost at 2 mana would make it a much more reasonable, and would make it so you can't cheat out your quest and your evocation Cyclone quite as effectively. So those are the 2 main nerfs I would do to regular Quest Mage. How about Reno Quest Mage? Well, there's not a lot you can really do, because the Highlander cards carry the deck for the most part, and I don't think you're going to touch that. So I would actually nerf Time Warp itself, the reward from the Mage quest, and make it 6 mana. This is never going to happen. Every quest reward is 5. They're going to keep it consistently like this, but this is just what I would do, how I would balance it. I would make it 6 because there is a nerf that I'm also going to suggest that would make this very relevant. It slows the quest killing your opponent down by making it 6. And it would be a big deal because of a card I will suggest a nerf to in a little bit. And for the last deck, the last mage deck that's really problematic is Secret Mage. Secret Mage is just really unfun to play against. They cheat out their secrets. You can't play a minion, it dies. You can't play a spell, it's counterspelled. You can't go face because your minions are nuked by Flame Ward. You can't even kill your opponent by bringing him to 0 because of Ice Block. It's not a very fun and interactive matchup. All the while they're cheating out 0 mana 5/5s and playing Fireballs for 4/4 with a 4/4 body for 5 mana. So what do we do about this deck? There are so many underlying problems with Secret Mage, and I put a lot of thought into it, and for me, it's all about the mana cheat. Shocking, mana cheat being a problem in Hearthstone. When Mage has the best secrets and most expensive secrets in the game. They cost 3 mana, they do very powerful things. Well, why do they all cost 0 then? Every other class that has secrets, Rogue, Paladin, and Hunter, do not have that many tools to make their secrets cost 0. In fact, Paladin only really has Mysterious Challenger, which is a one-time bomb at 6 mana. Hunter has Cloaked Huntress, which is a minion you must play, and there's only 2 copies in your deck. And Rogue does have secrets, and they can't cheat it out without a Mad Scientist, which every class can. I believe that the Kirin Tor Mage, the Cabal Lackey, Ancient Mysteries, it's too powerful to allow the mage to cheat that much mana. I would change all 3 of those cards to read your secret costs 1. You still get a 2 mana discount, but you can't do the Kirin Tor secret. You can't play a 2 mana Flak Mage and immediately clear your opponent's board. It's a little more fair. It's still pretty powerful and would probably still be playable, but it slows the deck down. The mana cheat is not nearly as absurd. You're not cheating 9 mana by turn 3 and then getting 5/5s immediately with that. It's just absurd. So for me, I would nerf every mana cheat card that cheats secrets in Mage to say the secrets cost 1. Next, now that we're done with Mage, what else would I nerf? There's only one other class-specific cards that come to mind for me personally, which is Shaman. Even Shaman is a very, very strong deck, and is only going to get stronger as time goes on, as more powerful even cards are printed. So, what would I do? Well, one of the cards that really has put Shaman over the top, when I initially reviewed it, I'm like, yeah, even Shaman's going to be insane and wild, and yes, now even Shaman's insane and wild, is Totemic Surge. It is a 0 mana spell, gives all your totems +2 attack, and this is a permanent effect. Unlike Savage Roar, for example, it stays on the board. Well, when you're making 1 mana totems every single turn, and you can duplicate them with your weapon for 4 mana, that is an insanely power effect, especially when you put it with Totemic Might, which buffs your minions. Those two in combination basically make your board unkillable, and you're just going to win by turns 4 and 5. Just feel it's too strong, and I would make Totemic Surge 1 mana. It makes it so you can't play it in even Shaman, and the card still is relatively powerful in a totem deck, but can't be abused by even Shaman, which I think would be good. And then the other nerf I would make is just Think From Below. That card for me has just always been much too strong. 6 mana 5/5. Every totem you've summoned, it becomes 1 cheaper. I would make it 8 mana. You can still play it in even Shaman. You're just gonna have to wait a little bit longer to play it. I think the card is just too unfair. It's too absurdly. It too easily comes down to 2 or 3 mana, or 2 or 1 mana by turn 3. And I just think it's too strong, especially considering it doesn't need to be in your hand to get the discount. So I would make it 8 mana. It's still an even Shaman card, but it slows it down significantly. It will still become 0 mana quicker than you would think still, but I think it'd make it more reasonable. So that's what I would suggest for the class cards for Warlock, Mage, Shaman. Warlock and Mage being the biggest defenders, Shaman not so much, but would become quite a big problem. The other 2 problem cards I see, one that I was kind of disappointed they didn't hit when they did the Snip Snap nerf, but I still think they should look into it, is Mech Warper. Mech Warper just cheats too much mana for especially aggressive decks when such. Mech Hunter, which isn't as good these days, but like Mech Hand Buff Paladin, which is extremely strong. It's a simple fix. I would keep it as a 2-mana 2/3. I would keep the effect. I would just give it the same treatment as Sorcerer's Apprentice, as I suggested earlier, and the Echo effect, that mechs cannot cost less than 1. That way you can't have your insane Mech Warper Galvanizer turn where you cheat out your entire hand and immediately win the game unless your opponent has Plague of Flames or something. You can still do good stuff with it. It's still a powerful card. Your mechs just can't cost 0. The card would be playable, it would still be strong, but it wouldn't be broken. So probably wouldn't see play in Wild now, would it? But still, I think Mech Warper has been problematic, and anytime they print another mech, it's, again, that problem can persist. It would just make things a little more safe in the Wild meta. And lastly, the last card I would nerf, and this is what the card that I was mentioning with Reno Quest Mage, is Vargoth. Vargoth, 4-mana 2/6, repeat a random spell that was cast this turn. I would make Vargoth, it's still a 2/6, but I would make it 5 mana. 5 mana so that, first off, you can't play it with Time Warp and Vargoth in the same turn unless you play Emperor, and then we're getting very clunky, and that's making the deck a lot less consistent. And also, Druid, which is, again, another deck that's also very close to being very strong, or very oppressive with, like, Togwoggle Druid and Jade Druid, is you can't get the high roll anymore of Oaken Summons into Vargoth. Vargoth is an extremely powerful card, and at 5 mana, it would still be relatively good, but it wouldn't be as easy to abuse. And I just think, in terms of Reno Quest Mage, and then you have your Big Priest, and you have your Druid decks, it would make those decks a little more reasonable, although I do understand those decks are not that strong right now, but if you're nerfing everything else, it couldn't hurt to, have a little bit of proactive nerfing going forward. Do I think any of these nerfs will occur? No, I don't. Do I expect it? Again, no, I don't. But I'm constantly asked, what nerfs would I do in Wild? And this is, I think, would be a great little starter package. So yeah, what do you think? What cards would you like to see nerfed in Wild? What cards do you disagree that I would nerf in Wild? Or would you just leave it entirely? Should Wild just be a complete clown fiesta? Should we unnerf everything? That's a discussion maybe for another video, but we'll see. Thank you for watching the video. If you enjoyed the content, please like and subscribe. It helps me a lot. We're growing quickly. I'm going to keep trying to pump out videos every day discussing, not just doing VOD uploads, but we're probably going to have a Quest Mage highlight video coming up soon. So we'll take that. Have a good day, everyone, and keep salty, my friends.